LoreWarrior Armour Extended. Centipede Scout Car. Overview. The loss of the Joint Equipment Systems factory on Al Shane to Clan Ghost Bear in late 3051 robbed the Inner Sphere of its source of Skulker scout vehicles. Gina Combat Vehicles, manufacturer of the Packrat patrol vehicle, saw a market and decided to develop an alternative to the Skulker. Gina originally planned to simply upgrade the Skulker design, but chose an alternative course once they realised that they would have to retool their manufacturing processes to create a Skulker-based vehicle. On the advice of Dr. Vanessa England, head of the Centipede design team, Gina chose a more radical redesign. Dr. England's proposed Centipede would replace the Skulker's wheel drive with a hover unit, which required additional lifting gear, but did eliminate the need for the Skulker's bulky GM Classic power plant. Production of the new vehicle began in early 3053. Capabilities. The use of a hover system allows the Centipede to travel much faster than its progenitor, though it also limits the vehicle's ability to deal with ground that's difficult. The AFFC's military procurement department was initially unsure of the Centipede's viability, but test deployments with numerous frontline units proved the vehicle's effectiveness. The Centipede's main weapon is a fixed-mount Defiant B3M medium laser, situated just below the driver's compartment. The fixed arc of the weapon limits effectiveness, but the Centipede is designed as a scout rather than a fighting vehicle. If caught unprepared by hostile fire, the Centipede's driver can easily use the vehicle's speed and maneuverability to flee from harm's way. The addition of a flamer, similar to that on the Packrat, provides limited anti-infantry protection for the entry hatch, situated between the twin drive fans at the rear of the vehicle. Deployment. Test deployment of the Centipede to AFFC units began in early 3054, with units going to troops stationed on the Clan and Marek-Lau borders. In May of 3054, the 1st Free Worlds League Guards raided the world of Sath in the Sarna March, and the seriously overmatched 1st Battalion of the 5th Lyran Guards threw its brand new Centipedes into the fray. The Lyran troops fought a running battle for more than a week, eventually falling back to the northern port city of Hangzhou. The 5th Lyrans were able to reach Hangzhou more or less intact, almost entirely because of the superb reconnaissance information provided by the Centipede's Beagle active probes, which would allow the Lyrans to react almost instantly to Marek maneuvers. Once the beleaguered Lyran troops reached the port, the Centipedes travelled over the waters of the Hangzhou's Wan River to spy out the enemy's rear area. The Lyran Guards held out for another 2 weeks until the arrival of the 1st Kestrel Grenadiers forced the Marek forces to withdraw. The Centipede is now a standard vehicle in the Lyran Alliance Armed Forces, and a number still remain in service with the AFFC. Variants. The Red Devil plant on Pandora began production of the Centipede in mid-3053, but because of supply issues, this variant uses the locally produced but unreliable Jones 75 engine. The failure rate of this drive, estimated at 15%, contributed greatly to Red Devil's poor reputation. 3058 upgrade. Overview. Initially conceived as a replacement for Joint Equipment Systems' Skulker-wheeled scout tank, after JES's manufacturing plant was captured by Clan Ghost Bear in 3051, the Centipede boasts superior speed, firepower, and detection abilities compared to its competitor. It is ironic, however, that the Centipede is now also no longer produced in the Inner Sphere. Red Devil Industries was lost when Pandora fell to elements of Roe Galaxy during the Jade Falcon incursion of 3064. Gina Combat Vehicles site at Molfetta suffered severe damage when mercenary companies presumably hired by House Marek raided the facility in September 3068, with the raid also inflicting substantial collateral damage to the nearby Gina Automotive site when a large number of employees from those plants went to help their Union brothers. These events have created an extremely hostile attitude towards the Free World League amongst the inhabitants of Gina, whose homeworld has been under an unwritten non-aggression pact with the League since the Second Succession War. A number of observers have noted that other powers may also benefit from Gina's misfortune, not the least of which are Avanti Industries and Cyclops, Incorporated, whose products are supplying much of the demand in the Bolan province in the wake of these Gina attacks. Capabilities. With a flank speed of 130 kph, the Centipede is able to outrun many other commonly used scout vehicles. The nose-mounted Beagle probe gives it a huge edge over most of its competitors, allowing it to gather even more data than many scout mechs. The Beagle's also instrumental in providing guidance for the B3M medium laser, offering accuracy and tracking on par with most advanced systems on the market today. The rear-mounted flamer has assisted the design in repelling infantry ambush, as well as covering its retreat by starting forest fires. Deployment. The standard scout vehicle of the LAAF, the Centipede can be found in almost every frontline unit, as well as many militia units. The Fedcom Civil War, the Jade Falcon incursion, and the recent warfare with the League have taken a considerable toll on many scout units across the Alliance, a toll only partially replenished before mercenaries sacked the Gina manufacturing plant. The Falcons in particular seem dedicated to screening and destroying centipedes whenever possible. This concerted effort has led some to believe that the capture of Pandora has been at least partially motivated by the presence of a centipede plant. The Centipede is a rare sight outside of the Lion Alliance, although a number have found themselves in mercenary hands through black markets of Galatea. Gina Combat Vehicle's investigation into the matter apparently has implicated Red Devil as the source of these illegal transactions. As a result, they're rumoured to be in the process of suing the company for several unauthorised uses of its Centipede licence. Variants. Gina Combat Vehicles started to offer a modified Centipede to its customers after completing feasibility tests. This variant mounts a tag instead of the medium laser, adds an ECM suite, maintains the flamer, and adds more armour. The first production run of this vehicle was gifted to Lieutenant General Daniel Voss Steiner, who was happy to add the vehicles to his understrength 7th Donegal Armour Brigade. Other variants made in the field include the removal of the B3M and Beagle probe in favour of short-range missile racks. Some Merc units have even taken to selling off the Beagle probe for cash, replacing it with less sophisticated equipment. Notable crews: Joshua Quavas. After months of cat-and-mouse combat with loyalist units, Staff Sergeant Quavas found himself in the way of the Jade Falcons when they invaded Blue Hole. Quavas's scout platoon continued to be instrumental in helping to keep the 8th Deneb Light Cavalry aware of its opposition. He succeeded in attracting the personal ire of Star Colonel Daniel Kyle of the 7th Talon Cluster when his scout lance raided the Star Colonel's base camp. Kyle was burned severely by Quavas's flamer, which temporarily incapacitated the mech warrior. Afterwards, many Jade Falcon mechs were equipped with Inferno SRMs, supposedly by order of their commander. Misha Mercedes. Sergeant Mercedes is best known for her uniquely modified Centipede, the Slight Mistake, mounting 5 Holly SRM Derringers spread across the hull. The Mistake can blast a considerable amount of firepower at an opponent. The restricted firing arcs are considered a handicap by most, but Misha has been credited with the destruction of 7 main battle tanks and even 2 battle mechs. So, the Centipede Scout Car, mass of 20 tons, hover movement with a Vox Type 75 internal combustion power plant, cruise of 86, flank of 130 kbh, with armour provided by Protectech 6. It has a single Defiant B3M medium laser and the good old Zippo vehicular flamer. Its manufacturer is Gina Combat Vehicles and Red Devil Industries. Primary plants are on Gina or Pandora. Its communication system is the Scooty Dual Corn, and the targeting and tracking is a Beagle active probe. I believe it's the same across the other book, which it is, although it says dual com on the one, the original says dual corn. Right, so it's an IC engine, moves 8 on cruise, flank on 12 with a single 3 heatsinks. Don't need more than that, really. It is 14 across the entire vehicle for armour. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, and that's just what you want from a little scout vehicle like this. It ain't the prettiest. It's just a little hover vehicle. I like the fact that it's something that's annoyed the clans so much, at least Jade Falcons, that they have made it like a personal vendetta to get rid of the vehicle. I like that. It's a nice little narrative thing. The idea that, you know, this, what would be considered by most people to be the crappy little 20-ton vehicle, you know, oh yeah, I step on it kind of thing. They've given it a little bit of character. There's a little bit of interesting background there. It makes it feel more like, you know, intelligence gathering is a much bigger part of the universe. And in computer games and such, should be something that's rewarded for the player for actually, you know, sticking their neck out, risking being detected by the enemy, you know, to gather valuable information about the enemy force that you're up against, and that's exactly what the Centipede does, and it does it quite well. It's obviously not a vehicle that you could use a lot in your more traditional kind of combat scenarios on the table, but you could use it as a cool little thing in a roleplay scenario where the players are maybe sent to retrieve a vehicle that may have been lost, or they've been isolated, trapped behind enemy lines, and you have to fight your way to one to help it get out of there because it's got vital information that it's managed to gather about enemy forces locally. The players have to escape in a Centipede scout car, using it to nimbly move around rough terrain while being pursued by other fast-moving units, helicopters, other ground vehicles, maybe even light mechs, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a few different applications for it, but it's also just nice that it, you know, further expands the universe, adding more interesting light vehicles that wouldn't necessarily get much attention in Battletech's universe, but they're important things, just like the vehicle annex will have just civilian vehicles. These are all massively important items that need to exist for a lot of the other parts of the universe to make sense overall, to function, essentially. And that's what I really like about entries for things like the Centipede and the Sprint helicopter. They're just there. They need to be to flesh out the universe. So yeah, I'll leave it at that one. Thanks for listening, everybody. As always, another extended one, which is probably what I'll stick to now if I can. TRO 3058 does cover a bunch of basically updated write-ups of a lot of other vehicles that were in the original TRO 2750 books. You got a bunch of Star League ones that get mentioned there, like the Multi-A. Hover APC, for instance, has a slightly updated write-up. So what I'll probably do with that is I'll probably cover them, but both entries from 3058. So I'm not doing like the 2750, the 3058, 3058 upgrade, and I'll mark those specific ones as 3058 in brackets, so it's easier, so you don't just go, oh, has he uploaded the same thing twice? No, I haven't. It's just that. So anyway, leave it there. Have a good one all. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.